All right. So now that is hard to follow. What I have to say is not quite as sexy as what you just heard, but it is just as important. So do not tune me out. Do not turn me off. Do not mute me, because what I am saying is extremely, extremely important. And I will not be the one saying it. So it's extra important. Okay. So I am going to bring to the stage. Wait a minute. I am Dana Grissom. First of all, your director of operations. Hello, somebody. All right, come on. Amen, lights, amen, lights. Okay, so, but coming to the stage all the way from the pillar is Valerie Mansfield.
Thank you. And I'm the treasurer for Unity Worldwide Ministries on the board. And I just want to say thank you, Dana, for this wonderful opportunity. And we have joining us
Dave Dietzer.
Dietzer.
Dietzer. Dave.
I'll accept it.
Yeah, Dave, come on. There he is.
Hey, woo! Dave is our CEO. He is the best CEO.
CFO.
He is the best.
He's our CFO, Chief Financial Officer.
Best CFO. He is not our CEO. Shed is our CEO. Dave is the best CFO. He is patient. He understands our business. He works with us to help us see how we can be more transparent. So, Dave, I expect a check in the mail for all those compliments. So,
Well, I'll give you a thank you right now. Thank you very much.
okay. All right. So it is now your show, but I am here to support in the question and answer phase of this party.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for allowing me to be part of this organization and to provide you with some information about your finances. So why don't we just start right out with kind of your income statement, which is made up of your revenue and expenses. And with the income statement is kind of like a statement of how you're performing. So just keep that in mind. So for revenue, you did pretty well last year. You did over $3 million of revenue. I just want to point out a couple of things. Both there's some extraordinary contributions that show up in both the unrestricted and the restricted contributions. So unrestricted are those contributions that you're allowed to use for everything, your operations, and there's no restriction on them. Restricted have been either restricted by the board or by the donor and can only be used for that specific restricted need. So yeah, so that's I just wanted to say the extraordinary contributions are really unexpected large contributions that come in through the year and were not budgeted. So if we want to move to the expenses, your expenses, as you can see, the largest expense is your compensation, which makes sense because you are providing services, and usually when services are being provided, people are doing that. So that's your largest expense. I also want to point out, grants. Grants are those things that you have passed on some of the funds to a partner organization to further your ministry in that way. And your expenses for this year have totaled a little under $3 million, $2.7 million for the year. The summary of those, if you take the revenue minus expenses, leaves you within that operating income of $376,000. Just to point out that that 376 includes those extraordinary expenses. So you can see how it's, even though they were unplanned, they came in, and so you can see how important that is. Below the net operating income line that's there in the middle is gains and losses that are a result, well, in this case, they're losses, as a result of market ups and downs for the amount of money that you have invested. You guys have set aside some funds for sustainability, and those things have been invested in agreed upon investments. And so those have performed poorly this year, but investments go up and down. The other income line is related to tax credits that were available due to COVID-19 legislation. So these graphs, I don't know if you can see them well where you are. They look kind of small to me. But just to note, the gray line is actual and the yellow line is budgeted. So the top graph is revenue, and that gray line is higher than the budget amount. So you have received more revenue than we had budgeted. The same is also true for expenses. You expended more than was budgeted. The good news is that you spent less. The increase in spending was less than the increase in revenue. So that bottom graph shows that you've been left with income that then can be becomes part of your net assets. So, and the next is the balance sheet. Now, the balance sheet is kind of a statement of health, right? That's at a point in time, how healthy are you? And so right now you can see you have almost $4 million of assets, and all of these assets are what we call current assets, which means that they're either cash or can be easily converted into cash and used to satisfy any obligation that you have. So that's a very healthy position to be in. And you can see that investment is what I told you about, where you guys have set aside money for sustainability. That's been invested, and you can see that there. So liabilities and equity. So you have very few liabilities. You can see your current liabilities total under $100,000. So that turns over quite quickly, and you can easily pay that. Your equity section is made up of kind of unrestricted net assets. That's the $1,031,000 that you see, $1,032,000. That is assets that you can use for operations, and there's no restriction on the use of those funds that were contributed. Yet there's net asset that's both restricted by the board. They set it aside at $2.4 million. That includes the sustainability fund and other funds that have been like HUG and other funds that have been set aside for a certain purpose. And then there's other restricted assets that have been restricted by the donors, and the donors have said, we want this to be used in such and such a manner. And the net income will roll into your unrestricted assets in 2023. So your total unrestricted assets will be close to $1.2 million. And we have arrived at the important time when Dana participates in questions and answers.
All right, any questions, comments, profound thoughts? All right, thank you. No, okay. Anything? Dave, thank you so much. That was a great presentation, explanation. We strive to be transparent, and it's been a long road, and we thank each of you all for trusting us to give you this needed information. So I don't see any hands in the room. This is your last call. Oh, and we have a hand online. How may I support you?
is it my time? I guess so. I think I hear an echo. Hey, it's Reverend Russell and at Unity of Fairfax in Oakton, Virginia. Just wanting to see what the audit schedule is. We had an unfortunate experience a few years back around all that. So I'm curious what the protocols are in place.
Well, I am glad that, you asked, and I can see that brilliant light just shining in on you. It's glowing. The light is glowing. I love it. But we actually start on Monday. We have a full audit. This is our third full audit or fourth? Third full audit. And each time we have had I can't think of the word, unqualified audit, which does not sound good, but it is the best that you want. So yes. So this is right. This is year 3, and we are just looking forward to this third audit season. So fun time had by all, mainly by Dana, but by all anyway.
Question from online.
Yes.
What do you attribute the increase in revenue to in 2022?
The biggest portion of that is our extraordinary contributions, which are great, but we can't rely on, dare I say, things dying, people or churches. We have to be involved and give, the psychology of giving. And so we would like each of you all to be a participant, dare I say, in our growth. So that is really the main cause for the increase in income. Guess I should be looking at the camera.
And Anna Schaus has a question.
Hi, thank you, Dana. Thank you, Dave. Thanks very much. Could you tell us the details of the sale of the property, the old building? Is it completed, and what year, and what was the income from that?
That was completed in 2021. It was early in the year, and $900,000, and right? Yes, and that has been put into the endowment fund, which is held at Merrill Lynch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's a quasi endowment. So that's the board designated endowment for sustainability for the future. And while we're waiting for the next question, if anybody would like to join the finance committee, we meet monthly on Zoom, and you are welcome to join us. Can contact either Dana or me, and we'll get you on the call with us and some other people out there.
Who serves on the committee?
Who serves on the committee currently? Dawn Bartlett, Roxanne Graves, Edith Washington, John Rexroth, John McMahon, Doris, Tracy Quillen. Seems like Diana Kennedy. No, not Diana Kennedy. McDaniels. Diana McDaniels and Dana and Dave. Okay. Any other questions?
Carpet Squares, anybody? Okay, I'm sorry.
So I have a question. I heard Diane Vanzera say that the school is operating at a profit,
Yes.
if I've understood that
Yes.
correctly, and so can afford the upgrades that will be made. So what is the long-term plan for increased profits for the organization, but maybe specifically as it applies to the school?
Well, overall, we are looking into investing more staff, energy, and time into development. That is that is the plan that is on the table. We are also focusing on power of focus ministry. We can't be everything to everyone. And so we are, what's the word? Strategic in, what we can do. And so that is the strategy. I know that doesn't have any coins to it yet, but that is the place we are starting. But again, that starts with the field. It starts with ensuring that you all invest in us so that there is a return.
And continuing to build trust in the field. So I think that's really important for us for transparency and the diligence of the Finance Committee to ensure that everything is done properly and strategically. Are you going to go in short term? No. Okay. And then we have, yeah, and we're looking at the way that we are investing and looking at some different possibilities that are coming up very shortly. And just being real strategic in how we watch what's coming in and what's going out.
We have $2.2 million on hand, which is not a lot, but it can work for us. And so we were just at US Bank this morning because we are going to allow that to work for us in short-term investments, which Don and I are going to work diligently on in the next couple of weeks or so. So we are trying other short-term as well. So that does have coins attached to it for sure. We have a question.
We have an online question. Could you please remind us of the CFO's background and how long he's been with UWM?
Dave, can you give us your background and how long you've been with UWM if you are still on the line?
Yes, I'm still here. Sure. My background is, if you can see my picture, I've been around a while. So I have over 20 years experience in public companies in both the pharmaceutical and international advertising area. I've owned my own business for 10 years before I semi-retired and hiked the Appalachian Trail. And then I moved to the wonderful Kansas City area because I had grandchildren and they trumped out all the other things. And so I've been with E2E for about 2 years and working with Unity Worldwide Ministries for about a year.
Yeah, so 3 years ago, we went with an outside accounting firm, E2E, and set up and re-established our financial policies. And then the team inside reestablished procedures financially, along with E2E and their corporate managers. And then Dave joined us a year and a half ago.
Any other questions online or otherwise? Reclaiming my time if we are done. And, oh.
So I think we all in our ministries, we experience extraordinary income,
Mhm.
and so you have to plan in the case that that doesn't happen. And so maybe I'm looking for a little more detail from you about the plan in the case in the years when maybe it's not as much. What's the sustainability plan? Is it just what's sort of sitting out there for sustainability, or do you have, what's your projected vision for a break-even budget, or is it a break-even budget? Like, I guess I'm looking for a little more teeth
Okay.
into this, and perhaps where does the member model fit into that? Because the numbers that Shad shared about the percentages of who's contributing are not sort of paint a fuller picture, I think, to what's behind some of the elements of the member model.
That is me. Okay, so part of the biggest part of the strategy is the endowment. It was placed there for those lean years. Now, thankfully, we haven't had too many lean years because we have gotten income that we did not expect. We do not budget for it. It is not in our budget. Our 2023 is based on a 16,000 deficit because it's actual numbers. It is how we think we're going to actually operate. And so there is a reality that we work in. And so we have a fund just in case. And so I know that that is not a long term, but we are doing things in the short term to ensure, i.e. we are going to do the, model. We are going to do the design of the education. And so there are things in the short term that may not pan out for another year or two. So now it is really about going to the fund we actually have that is a safety net. So I hope that answers, but if not, call me.
And in addition to that, on the finance committee, we look at what we're investing in. If we might need to make an adjustments, we can do that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
really went into it for a longer term than the short term hiccups that we've had recently, and know that through our own prosperity consciousness, as we all hold it in our prayers, that it's going to grow and that unexpected income is going to come into us in some way. We don't know how. We know that we'll always have more than enough to operate as the Unity Worldwide Movement and to fund and help fund some of the actions in the field with the different grants and things that are being offered. And so we're very conscious of that.
You all are awfully quiet, scarily quiet. Is the storm coming? Well, thank you. Amen, somebody.
So just a point of clarity, and I know we've seen all the figures and everything, but I don't really read financial plans very well, but the endowment fund, are those funds kept, is the intention to keep those funds as a way of generating income? So are they protected and not spent on expenses? Is that a correct understanding of that fund?
That is correct. Those are not in an account that we access. They are held at, I can't, every time I blank.
Merrill Lynch
Thank you.
investment.
Yes.
And the board actually, it's a quasi board endowment. So that's why it's a restricted fund for the board to allocate if
Yes.
it's required somewhere. Or if we decide that there's this great idea that somebody has in the field and we want to help support that in some way that's going to benefit everybody, then the board could vote to spend that money.
Some of.
Now, some of it, yeah. And here's the other thing is that we set it up so that in the future, if a board 25 years from now, actually it'd be less than that now, 22, wanted to do away with that, then they could. So we didn't set it up forever
Yeah.
because we don't know what's going to come down the pipe in the future. So we did limit the number of years that it could be held so that it can continue to go on. But if a board in the future decides that they don't want it, then it can be dissolved. Right. It's only restricted by the board.
So I'm going to jump in real quick, if you don't mind. I just want to make sure we address Jackie's question, the full extent of her question, that we're not just budgeting on a whim, but that we actually are putting things in place to increase revenue. So you saw that we introduced the UWM Sunday message. That was an effort to see if that's something that ministries are going to need, if they're going to use. We put that on pause until we see if that's going to generate revenue, to increase revenue. The education redesign is to get more students into the program to increase revenue. The spiritual direction, the certificate programs, the integral ministry models, these have increased revenue. We want to introduce more of those. We want to refine those to make it more available to more people to increase more revenue. So we are constantly talking about not just, waiting for the income to come from you all. Can we partner with other organizations? Can we keep creating products and offerings to increase revenue? So we do have a chart of projects that we're working on that's to increase revenue, and then also the grants that we receive from Templeton and other organizations. We've been ramping that up. We've been in ongoing conversations with Templeton to the point that we received an unrestricted grant from them this year for $35,000. But next year, they're creating a new pipeline for us to have better access to the grants that we submit. So hopefully we want to get that pipeline going again, because they've basically apologized and said, you guys have been lost in the thousands of submissions we get. We recognize that now. We want to give a direct path to you because you're supposed to be getting funds every year. That was John Templeton's interest. So they're hopefully having that pipeline open up again next year, which has been closed basically for 2 to 3 years on us. So yes, we are actively working on new income sources. The membership model will hopefully increase engagement in the giving to increase that as well, because there's a lot of awesome things we have planned we want to do for you all, but they do take funds and they take that partnership. So I just want to make sure that part got addressed. Okay. And we are working on break-even budgets, like you were saying, without putting in the extraordinary gifts every time to save us.
Right. Thank you, Shad. Clarity. That's what we're about.
Yeah, and I appreciate the detail because that's the stuff that I am interested in knowing. Can you just, and it's probably on there, I know, sorry, can you just tell us how much income that generated in the last tax year from that endowment fund?
We actually lost money
Actually, we lost money. So we had
because it's in the market.
266,000 loss.
Now,
But
we
that's-
gained money, so it wasn't, early on, we had gained money, right? You had gained funds, and then we lost funds
Yes.
at the tail end of the year. What? And now, yeah, and that's the market. So it goes up and down, and we know that. And if you know anything about the market, and some of those people on that team know more about it than I do, but the way that, what we know is the long term is where the returns come in.
Right.
So we're not working for the short term in that fund. We're working in the long term, knowing that the amount of money will go up and exceed anything that we've lost.
Question online?
Hi.
Anna, go ahead.
I just want to say, I know Dana, you said is the storm coming, and I want to say thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. I don't know all the details of all that went down, but I know it was not fun and it was a mess. And as that's my word anyway. So I just want to say a major, gigantic, huge, I love you and appreciate you and big time. Thank you all for your movement through all of that and creating wealth and abundance and a clear system of integrity. And thank you, Dave, and all of you. I can only imagine that it has not been easy and it has been a process. So big thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.